Hello everyone. I'm currently in Pisgah National Forest in Pisgah Forest, North Carolina, on the edges of Brevard, North Carolina, which if you don't know where that is close to Asheville and Hendersonville, North Carolina. I'm just spending an afternoon by the river. I've got to go to work tomorrow, so I'm just kind of relaxing and taking it easy today. Spend a little bit of time reading and playing on the phone and just watching the river flow. And I thought, while we're down by the river, that I would give you a van tour. Spend a little bit of time. Other than the cars going by every once in a while, it's pretty peaceful here. I love the sound of the river flowing. But I'll show you my van. I have two fans back there. I'll show you the brands. I have this one, a Polar, and I have this one. Okay. Somebody might say, well, which brand is better? Neither one of them's any better than the other. They both are the same thing. Just different colors and different brands. They both are great. I do have two of those, and I have two of those. I just don't have all of them in the van right now. I do use them all during the summertime, though. Keep air circulating. My blanket on the back doors to keep the draft from coming through when the wind's blowing during the winter. And it looks a lot better than the back doors do. So I just like it. I have a 20-pound propane tank back here. Extra blanket, my gym bag, and 3 drawers of storage. And my dream catcher that I got out west when I went to Idaho to move my daughter and grandchildren back out this way. I have my Olympian Wave 3 heater. It's a good heater. Once I get it going good, I run it on high for probably 20 or 30 minutes. Enough to get it lit real good. And then I turn it down on low and keep it on low all night. I do get kind of hot, so I do run my fans. But the propane hose goes underneath the bed. Back up in there. Nothing is obstructing it. The way I have it set up, I made sure that it had a clear shot through underneath the bed. I have all my HBA things, food, snacks, whatever. A little bit more food and cooking utensils and a 1i propane / butane cooker. And my Jackeries. I have the Jackery 1000 that I use the majority of the time, and Jackery 500. I haven't used it in quite a while, but I did pull it out of storage just in case I needed it over the last few months. And I just felt better about it being in here than being in that cold storage. So my bed sits 13 inches up off the floor, so I have plenty of storage underneath. And my mattress is a piece of foam that I got from Foam and Fabric with a memory foam on it also. But during the wintertime, I do flip it over so the memory foam's on the bottom, because memory foam will freeze. Yeah, so when I'm inside at work, it gets pretty cold in here. And you can come out and sit down, and the memory foam has no leeway because it gets pretty sturdy, hard. But come summertime, it gets flipped back over. But I have clothes, books, clothes. But since I work full time, I have work clothes and I have my regular clothes. So, and I guess I'll be working for a long time to come. I have reflectix for the side windows up front for when I'm just parked somewheres and want a little bit more privacy. I have my box. It has cleaning items in it, toiletries, The only cleaning item that I don't have in there is my window cleaner that's up in the front door. And I have my porta potty. I built its little holder, and my granddaughter liked the idea of the lavender packets being all the way through my van. So I've got one there, I've got one over here, and I've got one up front. Oh, and I've got an extra pack back there in the back to use later. I love the smell of lavender. It's super nice. I have a couple ride-along buddies. That one came from the Outer Banks a few years ago when I went to the beach with my daughter and grandkids. And some reading material up here, my trash can. But that's about it. The flooring is a 3/4 inch plywood. And I got the locking plywood, so when you cut it to fit this way, it just clicks into each other, so you don't have to nail it in. But then I've got this. I need to put a little bit more spray adhesive on there and put the edging on there, but I'll do that during the summer. I can't wait to get rid of the rug, so I will not get rid of this one because this is a foot wiper. But I love the flooring that I've got down, so I can't wait to get rid of the rugs for the summertime so I can actually see my floor. But I only have the rugs because it gets so cold during the winter. And I have my Pelican 30-quart ice chest. I don't know if I'll ever get a refrigerator. I really need a solar panel to keep the batteries charged up to have that. And so far that's not worked out for me. I was going to have that last fall, but my van decided that it was going to break down for the holidays. And he put a band-aid on that to get me through the holidays. Then last month it broke down, and I've put a couple grand in it the last few months. Most of that was last month. Something else on the charge card. But it is what it is. There's nothing I can do about it. You gotta keep that maintenance up on the vehicle. Isn't this view just lovely? Look at the moss on the tree. And the sun's trying to shine up there. But the moss looks really super cool. I love the sound of the running water, the river flowing by. But I've thought a lot about my time in the van, how much time I have left in this van, what am I going to do when this one dies and I have to do something else. It's got about 230,000 miles on it right now, but oh my heavens, the maintenance is kept up on it. My mechanic is probably sick of seeing my van and me because I keep it worked on. I keep the basic maintenance worked on, and you know, the oil change, sparks and all that, the tune-up stuff. And then when there's an issue, we're right back in there. I've had a lot of work done on it, a lot of major work done on it. Last month was the intake manifold, sparks, plugs, cylinders, all that stuff that's underneath the intake manifold, all that had to be worked on. And it took a few trips to get it all taken care of. But it's doing a lot better. But I try not to think too much and dwell on things too much. I just know that the day's going to come that I've got to pick something else. I like the size of this van. I would like to have another van like this when the time comes, and I don't see that happening anytime soon. I think I've still got a few years left in this one with all the maintenance I have done on it. there's no reason this thing should not last 3, 4, 5 more years at least. But I think about it, and I also think about the fact that, yeah, sometimes I get bored. I get bored with it, being in the van and not being able to just go lay back in a recliner in the living room and turn YouTube on and watch videos and go cook a full-blown meal and put leftovers in the refrigerator to eat on for the next 3 or 4 days. I think about things like that. Sometimes I miss that. But there's nothing I can do about that either because my income is not sufficient for sticks and bricks. I would have to almost double, if not double, my income in order to be able to afford rent, utilities, a vehicle without payments, insurances, medical debt, life in general. That is why I'm no longer in my apartment. I left my apartment after 4 years. And when I moved in there, I had 10 grand in savings. I was working towards hoping for a down payment on something because I really wanted to buy. Yeah, that didn't work out. When I left there after 4 years, I had 3 grand in savings. I had shut off the cable after the first year. I didn't go out to eat, didn't go to the movies, didn't have the extracurricular activities that require money. I didn't do anything. It just took everything I made to keep up an apartment. And we're looking at a 1-bedroom apartment in town that wasn't that expensive per se, especially considering today's prices. But when you're on my income, and there's just not anything. There's not anything somebody with my income can afford, not by themselves. And I am not having a roommate. I'm done with trying to depend on someone. My ex-husband really screwed me over and messed me up. But that's for another story. Yeah, don't want to get into that. But when you have to depend on someone else to help you with bills, and then you have to worry about them abandoning and you getting evicted and losing everything, I don't want to go through that again. I've had to start over too many times because of someone else. And I don't want to do that anymore. So, it's me, myself, and I. And me, myself, and I don't make enough to have sticks and bricks. So, I keep saying, maybe someday I'll win the lottery. But I don't play it that often. And I'm not a lucky person, so I can't see that happening either. But something's got to give at some point, right? Yeah, at some point. But with the company that I work for, those of us who work the stores, keep the shelves stocked, keep the tags and signs hung, keep the customers happy, do everything that is required in retail to keep the place going. We're lucky to get a 25-cent raise every year. And there's been 2 or 3 years in my 15 years that I've not gotten anything because the manager that I had at the time wasn't that big on giving raises unless you were a favorite. I'm in a small store, so you can figure it out. But yeah, when you have to go to the DM because the manager at the time refused to listen and do anything, yeah. But there's no catching up from what was lost. I've went through a lot with the company that I work with. I've went through a lot of issues of harassment over the years, verbal, and just, it's ridiculous, really. But yes, I have tried to find other employment, even to the point of looking in Idaho before I went out there to move my daughter home. I looked for employment there so I could just move out there. And as many applications as I put online, got nothing. So I figure it's probably my age where people can pretty much see, well, she's this age and she's only going to have so many years. You know, I'm a hard worker. I think I do too much. I think I work too hard. And I know that the appreciation isn't there. And despite the fact that I am 60 years old, I still put my all into it. And for the way you're treated, I don't think I should do that either. But my work ethic is pretty strong. So I put all my heart and soul into it, and I shouldn't. Really shouldn't. But it's hard not to when you've always been that way. More vehicles. That was a motorcycle. I don't know how much of that you can hear, but what just passed rocked the van a little bit. But yeah, I don't see having sticks and bricks again at any point in the future, really. I really don't. I just see the need for another vehicle in the future. And hopefully another van like this. Which hopefully not as many issues to start out with. Because I bought this van for $5,000 back in 2018. I had to go out of state to get it because everything up here for the same van, they were asking 3 times as much in North Carolina. Ridiculous. So I went South Carolina. And I found it down there. Granted, yep, I had to put some work into it when I first got it. But you're going to have to do that anyways. When you buy a used car, you're going to have to do something to it. So that was a given. I knew that was going to happen. So that was no big deal. What I wasn't expecting is my first summer when the transmission went out on me while I was driving down the road. That was an experience. Yeah, I've never had that happen in all my years. In all my used, old, beat-to-death vehicles that I've had, I've never had a transmission go out. I had a meltdown. It was not pretty. It just freaked me out. And it wasn't as... It turned out not to be as bad as I thought it was going to be. It was only like a $1,800 transmission rebuild. And he had it done in like 4 days. So... But I don't think I've ever been so relieved in my life that a maintenance issue had been done. So, but I wouldn't wish that on anybody. It scared me to death. It caused me a meltdown. It was stressful. I get stressed easy. Because this is what I have to depend on. This is all I have. This is all I have. This is mine. It's all I have. I can't lose it. But I can still enjoy the river. have a peaceful day before I have to go back to work tomorrow. This video turned out to be a lot longer than I expected. 20 minutes in, I'm going to say have a good evening. I hope you didn't mind the rant about my job. I hope you enjoyed the van tour. I hope you enjoyed the river, the sounds of the river. The fact that we can sit here and listen to the water flowing despite the vehicles that keep going by. I did try to find a place a little off the road, but I wouldn't have been next to the river. So, but in the meantime, I'm going to leave you with the river flowing. Have a good evening. Ta-ta.